We're here at Shady Lake Kennels today in Shadydale, Georgia to discuss a very important topic, how to pick a puppy. As you can see, there's nothing more cuddly than a lab puppy. But if good looks, good health, and top performance are what you're looking for, understand, all puppies are not created equal. Now bear in mind that 6 to 8 week old puppies of this caliber are not always readily available. If you can't find exactly what you want, be patient. You'd be much better off waiting for another litter that much more closely meets your requirements.
To find this puppy of a lifetime, consult all of the resources available to you. Places like professional trainers, hunting retriever clubs, your own veterinarian, and some duck hunting and dog magazines, and of course the internet, are excellent sources of places to find quality puppies. The newspaper also has its share of diamonds in the rough, but be very cautious about what you find there.
There's several very important items to consider when selecting a litter. First and foremost, make sure both parents are either AKC or UKC registered. This at least gives you a basic assurance that what you're purchasing is in fact a purebred puppy. Secondly, you should inquire about the health certifications and pedigrees of both parents. Pedigrees that contain titles such as Master Hunter, Hunting Retriever Champion, or Field Champion are a good indication that your pup comes from a lineage that is not only capable of learning, but works well with people. You should insist that both parents are either OFA Good or Excellent and Surf Clear. OFA is a registry that grades the hips of 2-year-old dogs and evaluates them for the possibility of hip dysplasia. Surf is to a dog's eyes what OFA is to their hips. It is a registry of dogs that have been examined and shown to be completely free of any hereditary eye disorders. The parents of your puppy should both be Surf Clear. Assuming you found a litter that meets these requirements, the final step in the process is actually picking the puppy that will be yours. What you look for in a dog in terms of temperament has a lot to do with what type of dog you'd like to have. The breeder can give you a rundown on the personalities of the litter, but I would recommend a very outgoing puppy that charges out to greet everyone. This is usually an indication of an eager and aggressive temperament, both of which are desirable traits if you plan to hunt and campaign the dog in hunt tests or field trials. What I have here is just such a dog as we've been talking about. This is the Dogs Afield Georgia Outdoor News TV dog. This little guy's about 4 weeks old right now, and what he needs most is lots of love and attention. The socialization process we start here will be some of the most important puppy training he gets for the rest of his life. Welcome to the second segment of the Dogs Afield Retriever Training Series. Today we'll be discussing introducing your pup to the basic elements of retrieving, things like field trips, swimming lessons, bumpers, and the like. To help us through this series is Mr. Jerry Day of Dogs Afield. Jerry has one of the best puppy training programs around. Let's see what Jerry has for us today.
Yeah, I like to start training with my puppies just as soon as I bring them home. I want them to be well socialized and confident no matter where we take them. I also would like for them to be bonded to me for life as their partner and as me being their master. To accomplish these goals, you need to make time for your puppy each day and allow him to have as many new experiences as possible. For example, a long walk in a field with your puppy may seem to be only exercise, but these experiences teach him to focus on you, to follow you, and get familiar with the sights, sounds, and smells of something besides your front yard. The same is true for taking your puppy to the lake or the pond. Make sure the water is shallow enough for him to stand and also not too cold. You want the puppy to feel confident in and around the water. Allow him to make his own entry. Never, never force or throw the puppy in the water. If he doesn't go right in, there's no cause for concern. Just continue to take him to the pond on a daily basis, and he'll soon take to the water on his own. Now is a good time to introduce your puppy to retrieving. You need to use something that the puppy likes, such as a puppy bumper, puppy toys, or even a small paint roller. The most important thing is to use something that's small enough, is not too big, and something that he likes. Here are some examples of puppy bumpers suitable for introduction to a young dog. The ideal place to start this is in a closed hallway where your puppy has to bring the items back to you. This type conditioning gets him used to coming back with his retrieves and makes it more likely to happen when you move this drill outside. One of my favorite puppy drills is what I call the hot dog drill. Food treats will go a long ways to encourage desired behavior. We use hot dogs because the puppies love them. The best way to do this is to cut rounds from a hot dog about 1/4 of an inch thick and then quarter each of the rounds. This makes a perfect size puppy treat, and one hot dog will last about a week. Now the first lesson using the treats should be sit. This is easily accomplished by holding the treat over the puppy's head while giving the sit command. It's simple. The puppy's head goes up and his fanny goes down. You should repeat this drill over the course of a few days until the puppy begins to anticipate the treat and sits on command. Do not give the puppy his treat until he sits. Once sit is learned, you can introduce hand signals by having your puppy sit in front of you and giving him cast to over and back using hot dog treats. While the puppy is much too young to do real blind retrieves, these drills will give him a foundation for when that time comes. The main thing is that he's learning and having fun doing it.
In our first two segments of the Dogs Afield Retriever Training Series, we discussed picking a puppy and then introducing that puppy to some of the basic elements of retrieving and socialization. Now it's time to start basic obedience and some training that looks a whole like what a retriever ought to be doing. Once again, we've got Mr. Jerry Day of Dogs Afield to help us through this part of the series.
One of the biggest mistakes people make with a new puppy is to think that it's too young to train. In the past, it had been thought that a puppy should be a year old before training starts. There's nothing further from the truth. One of the most important lessons for a 4 to 6 month old puppy is basic obedience. What I mean by basic obedience is the simple commands that keep the dog under control. Knowing commands like sit, hear, and heel are the foundation for all training that is to come later. Here are some of the drills you can do at home to help teach these concepts. We discussed the sit command in the last segment and used a food reward to teach the concept. Your puppy should now be able to sit on command without a treat. Use affection and praise as the new substitute. Here is also a very important command for your puppy to know. It too can be easily taught with a food treat. You simply call your puppy by saying here and reward him when he comes to you. It is important to keep your commands to one-syllable words at this time and also be consistent in how you use them. When calling your puppy, don't say here one time and then come on boy, here the next. Say here and be consistent with the command. The last of the basic commands is a heel command. This is very important for keeping the dog under control without a leash and later developing a retriever steady to wing and shot. This command can be introduced with the food reward system, but it is usually best learned when taught with a pinch collar. With the pinch collar around the dog's neck, walk the dog at your side. If he lags behind, use a light jerk and the heel command. If he forges forward, do a 180-degree turn, light jerk, and the heel command. And eventually, he will walk along at your side with you. When you stop, the dog should sit. This is taught by firmly lifting up on the lead and saying sit when you stop walking. Eventually, the dog will automatically sit without any pressure from the lead when you stop walking. You know the dog understands heel when you can do this without a lead.
In previous segments, we've discussed topics like puppy selection, socialization, and basic obedience. Now it's time to begin the real training on both land and water that will make your puppy into a solid gun dog. Mr. Rick Nudd of White Oak Kennels is here to help us develop the started retriever.
Developing a started retriever is all about marking and obedience. The natural ability of the retriever to mark, along with the control exercised by the handler, develop the basis of the teamwork between you and your dog. One of the essential skills of any working retriever is marking. Marking is the ability of a retriever to follow the flight path of an object as it falls to the ground and then go directly to the area of the fall regardless of terrain or obstacles. Marking ability, like the desire to retrieve, is instinctual for most retrievers. The key here is to build on that instinct and desire and develop these skills to their full potential. Start young to really get a pup's desire revved up. Throw short marks in the yard that the pup can easily see. Once he's comfortable swimming, do the same in the water. The more frequently you work your pup, the more quickly he will develop his marking skills and the desire to retrieve. The trick here is frequency, not length of training time. Ideally, 2 to 3 times a day. Always keep your sessions short and fun. And remember, keep the retriever pup wanting more. As the marks get further away, use bumpers with 2 colors with flags attached to give more movement and action to your marks. Another important consideration is the ability to train with a group. From this point on, most of the marks thrown for your pup should come from a remote location, not your hip. Having at least one training partner from now on will be critical. This fact alone is more than enough reason to join a local hunting retriever club. Once your retriever pup is developing well with his marking and retrieving, give him a real bird as a change of pace from rubber bumpers and to further build his excitement. It's a good idea to make sure the bird used here is dead and appropriately sized for your pup. With older pups, a shot flyer can be used to build retrieving desire or at least jumpstart what's already there. Again, having at least 1 to 2 people to train with is critical to doing this correctly and safely. Simply bring the retriever to heel and give the ready signal to the gunner once the dog is focused. The regular use of shot flyers with dogs at all levels of training serves to give them a pick-me-up and a welcome break from rubber bumpers. It lifts their spirits and teaches them to get excited about real birds, exactly what you want from your hunting retriever. Now that we've covered marking, it's easy to see why having a steady retriever is so important. Again, understand that obedience is the foundation of control for your retriever. After all, if you can't control your dog when he's beside you, how do you expect to do it when he's out 50 to 100 yards or more? At this stage, the retriever pup should be heel trained, which is a must in order to teach him to be steady. A steady retriever is one that stays obediently at heel until he or she is released. This is important for 3 main reasons. First, it is a safety consideration. A retriever that is steady will not put himself in the cone blast of the shotgun, which could cause severe damage to his ears or worse, result in being shot. Secondly, a retriever must be steady to accurately mark. If there are multiple marks, the retriever must be steady to even see all the birds. Finally, a steady retriever is much more enjoyable and effective dog to hunt with. No flare birds or long afternoons on the dove field screaming your lungs out at your 4-legged friend. This can be taught by restraining the dog during marking drills, or in some cases by staking the pup out to help him learn he can only be released by his handler.
At this point, your pup needs regular training in a group environment. The best place to get this is through membership in a local hunting retriever club. Welcome to part 5 of the Dogs Afield Retriever Training Series. At this point, all the topics we've discussed really start to come together for the seasoned and finished retriever. More importantly, the handler and his dog really begin to work together as a team. Let's go to Rick Nudd as he discusses intermediate and advanced retriever work.
All the drills we've covered in segments 1 through 4 really come together in the intermediate and advanced levels of retriever training. It's important to remember that retriever training is a building blocks process and has taken a lot of time and effort to get a dog to this level. At the intermediate and advanced levels of retriever work, the dog has become a seasoned veteran of at least 1 hunting season whose overwhelming desire to retrieve has been tempered by control and obedience. This is a hunting retriever that can do it all, and it's a real pleasure to hunt with. At this stage, most of the marks being thrown are doubles or triples. Start with short doubles and gradually lengthen the marks. Once a long double becomes routine, you can introduce your dog to a 3rd bird and triple marks. Retrieving multiple marks is a required skill of the intermediate and advanced retriever. The dog should be capable of retrieving these multiple marks on land and water. When training, start with marks the retriever can see after they fall, as this will help him to develop his memory and build his confidence. Training for multiple marks should also include a shotgun or at least a long stick to simulate one. It does not have to be fired, but it will help the dog learn to follow and mark off the gun. Being heel trained and steady is a must here as well. If your retriever isn't steady, then he's not ready for multiple marks. The other important skill of the intermediate or advanced retriever is the ability to do blind retrieves. This ability separates the average dog from a true hunting retriever by its value as a game conservation tool. A dog is not a finished retriever until he has the ability to do blind retrieves. The importance of the skill is apparent when you knock down a bird your dog did not see fall, say while he was out making another retrieve. In many waterfowl hunting situations, this bird might be lost without a well-trained retriever who can do blinds. A retriever trained to do blinds will serve his hunting partners well and put more birds in the bag. Blind retrieves are accomplished by teaching the dog how to handle. Handling is a combination of whistle commands and hand signals that tell the dog where to go and how to get there. The whistle commands are usually introduced first during basic obedience. Whistles are used because their sound can travel further and be less disturbing to game than our voices. There are only two whistle commands, the sit whistle, which is just a single blast, and the hear whistle, which is a series of short blasts. The sit whistle is easily introduced to the dog who is heel trained by replacing a verbal sit command with a single blast of the whistle. You know the dog understands the concept when they will sit on the whistle from a remote position. This is how the sit whistle is used, to stop the retriever before giving a directional cast. The hear whistle is also introduced during the basic training. Once your pup is coming to you and called very consistently, start blowing the hear whistle just before giving the verbal hear command. Eventually the dog will respond just as well to the whistle hear as the verbal hear. In both cases, the whistle commands can be reinforced with the use of a training collar. Once you stopped your dog with a sit whistle, you need to give him a directional cast with a hand signal. There are only two verbal commands for directional casts. Those are back and over. We combine the hand signals with the verbal commands to help the retriever learn. These concepts are introduced in the yard using bumper piles. The back command is given from the heel position to get the retriever started. Once going to the pile consistently from a remote position, the legs of the baseball drill can be introduced. This setup is used to teach the over and back commands remotely. Picture your dog on the pitcher's mound and you at home plate. Eventually there will be a pile of bumpers on each base, but we will start with one base at a time. Put a pile of bumpers at the first base position only and give the dog the over command, while also giving him the corresponding hand signal. Repeat this at the third base position, and eventually you can cast the dog to either positions with bumpers in both. For back, the bumper pile now goes to the second base position. Repetition and attrition will soon have your retriever handling with bumpers in all four base positions. In most cases, it is easier to learn these concepts on land first, then moving to water. Now you're ready to begin running pattern blinds. Pattern blinds or known blinds are an excellent way to condition your retriever to drive out hard, as well as build their confidence on blind retrieves. Pattern blinds are blind retrieves that your retriever runs regularly and repeatedly. As a result, they become known patterns. Running these patterns gets your retriever used to running blinds and helps boost his confidence that there is a bird out there, even if he didn't see one fall. Your cue to the retriever that you are going to run a blind is to tell him dead bird before giving the back command. Eventually, he will understand that the dead bird cue means that there is a blind and he will respond accordingly.
Welcome to the last segment of the Dogs Afield Retriever Training Series. Today we're going to show you the payback for all your effort and hard work, a finished hunting retriever. Now let's go to some real dogs afield doing what they love to do most.
We've done a lot of training to develop a retriever that's really ready to go hunting. As we wrap up our series today, let's review the benefits of a well-trained hunting retriever.
The conservation value of a well-trained retriever cannot be underestimated. Bottom line, they will put more birds in the bag and minimize or eliminate lost game. The long-term benefits of this are more birds, lengthy seasons, and a natural resource that will be around indefinitely. Even if you're not an avid hunter, the virtues of a well-trained retriever are numerous. Once training is complete, you will have an animal that will do what you want, when you want. This level of obedience makes your retriever a much more enjoyable pet to have and should allow him the chance to participate in even more activities besides hunting. Finally, a well-trained retriever will be a better companion both at home and in the field. Whether hunting alone or with others, a retriever of this caliber will enhance any outing where a shotgun is standard equipment. Your retriever will never oversleep, stick you with the breakfast tab, or make snide comments about your wing shooting. In fact, you may find your retriever is the best hunting buddy you've got.
The Hunting Retriever Club, or HRC, is a national program that exists to promote the hunting retriever. as well as educate the public on breeding and performance standards. The HRC network consists of clubs across North America that hold hunt tests, training groups, and other group activities.
Anyone with a retriever and the desire to learn more about training their dog should strongly consider membership in an HRC club. Besides being an excellent source of training information, HRC clubs are a lot of fun. Here you will meet people that are likely to become your training partners, hunting buddies, and some even lifelong friends. The clubs are family-oriented and welcome anyone interested in learning about retrievers. Old veteran or young beginner, there is something for everyone and every dog in the HRC program. To find out about an HRC club in your area, contact the number or website on your screen. We hope you learned a lot from the Dogs Afield Retriever Training Series. Special thanks to Mr. Jerry Day of Dogs Afield and Rick Nudd of White Oak Kennels for their contribution to this series.